Yeah, finally got a cold. Made it a long time without one, but I knew it was coming yesterday. And today, it's like half in the throat and half in the nose. Well, we'll do our best. We'll get through this thing. Shows get shorter when I have a cold. And a lot of you are probably happy about that. Welcome to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Bespris. You can find me on social at Dan Bespris. I think I'm like 75 followers away from 30,000, which is amazing. Thank you guys. You're all, I don't know what the hell we're doing here. How did I get to this point? But sweet. Hit that subscribe button, however you're taking in the podcast. That's actually more important because podcasts actually get advertising dollars, and that gets me towards a life goal of not being a drain on my family's resources. So please subscribe. Continue to listen to all of our stuff here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, presented by FanDuel and the Believe Network. And today, we are discussing a week in review. What happened this week? Let's zoom in a little bit more. I want to make sure you guys can actually see what's on the screen here for the YouTubers. You know how this thing goes. We get through the ads. We look at the injury replacements. We talk about old ads, what's been going on with those guys, the hold board, the worry board, the drop board, the watch list board. It's a lot of names. So buckle up because we're going to spend exactly the amount of time I want to on each one of them. I decide. Me and only me. Here are the ads. Those of you that are watching, you can see asterisks next to the players' names. Those denote how many times they've been on the ads board. Nothing else. It has nothing to do with priority. It's just how long they've been there. It's a way for us to track what have we been doing here on this show. Because I think it's important. A lot of shows just like, oh, here's the next one. No connection to what's been happening in prior weeks. And it's not an accountability thing. It's just like, we got to know what we've said. You got to know what we've said. If it's like a reasonable thing or not. If I say something dumb, I should be held accountable. If I say something really smart, I should be held accountable. And you should wonder, did somebody body snatch me? So anyway, the 5 names that are back on the ads board, we won't spend a ton of time on those, are Bilal Coulibaly, who was on it like 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then he got hurt for a couple of weeks, so he came off the board for a little bit. Now he's back on it again because he's healthy. And he almost deserves to be discussed like a new name on the ad board because I think everybody sort of forgot what the hell he was doing before he got hurt. Coulibaly's at 10 points. He's only playing 25 and change minutes per game right now, so he's still kind of in that ramp-up mode. But 4 boards, 3.5 assists, a steal, 1.3 blocks, 1.2 threes. Percentages are not good, which is kind of the case for him all the time. But the question becomes, what if he's playing 29 minutes or more? What if he gets to that 28, 29, 30 mark? What can he do in that amount of time? And on this team, it feels like there should be enough for him. Because we know he can get steals, blocks, boards, and assists. We know he's going to take some shots. I don't know, many exactly. We know it's probably going to go poorly when he shoots. But it's that age-old, like, does the volume counterweight the efficiency stuff enough? And I think the answer with Bilal is maybe. So that's why he's an ad, because we got to see how this thing goes. The 4 names that are back on the ads board that were on it last week that probably don't require a ton of additional explanation are Jeremiah Fears for head-to-head leagues only, because he's got these very clear gaps in his fantasy game. He's been shooting the free throws worse than the field goal lately, which I think is probably going to flip long-term. But he's a good scorer. He's a good steals guy. There isn't a whole lot of assists there yet. And I think that's going to make it really hard for him to be a value in straight 9 category leagues. 8-cat, he gets a little bit closer. 8-cat punt field goal, he gets even a little bit closer than that. And in those spots, you can probably get him on rosters. So when I say head-to-head only, I basically mean like punt or double punt types. If you have to double punt, that's just not a guy you can use in Roto. Derik Queen deserves to be on the board. So his stuff is a different weird mishmash of why isn't this guy ranked higher? He's number 168 on the season. Over the last week, he's number 108, despite averages of 14, 9, and 5 with a steal and almost 2 blocks a game because he's at 4 turnovers, a medium volume 70% from the free throw line, and he hasn't hit a three-pointer over that stretch. So you've got these categories that are dragging him down. I don't care about the threes necessarily because he's a center. How many did you want to get out of him anyway? But the 4 turnovers with 4.5 assists, that's an extraordinarily bad assist-to-turnover ratio. So, yeah, obviously, there are efficiency issues. I don't think there's any way you can't pick this guy. Like, he needs to be on every roster because if this stuff gets even the tiniest bit better, I mean, we're talking razor-thin margin here in 9-cat, then he's a start in every single league everywhere. As it is right now, over the last week, if you don't care about his 4 turnovers, he's a 6th rounder. Or maybe you do care about his turnovers. Maybe you don't care about his free throw, then he's an 8th rounder. If you don't care about either of them, he's a 5th rounder. But even if you care about both, he's still startable. No, number 108 is borderline, but it's still a guy that, like, that's a 10th round, last pick of the 9th round, whatever. That's a guy that should mostly be in fantasy lineups, roto, head-to-head, whatever. So Derik Queen, there's just too much there. Like, the upside is too large to let him float around any longer. I had Ace Bailey on this list. I'm going to leave him on there because you can see the Jazz are starting to just see more what he can do. And it's been bad over the last week. He's playing 17 minutes a game. I think he either fouled out or had 5 fouls in like 17 minutes in one of those games. It's going to be a little ugly as he figures it out. But we're seeing that they're giving him a little more opportunity to figure it out than the first 3.5 weeks of the season. I would not pick up Ace Bailey in a roto league. I need those game cap spots to be occupied by the guys putting up the biggest individual per game numbers. So like the best injury replacement board names, obviously the best guys you can find that have rest of season value. But at this point of the year, by week 5, there are, and we do a show on injury replacement guys every week, but like we're going to talk about them on this show as well. There's 15 to 30 solid backups you can grab out there, and a lot of them are going better than top 100. So I don't need Ace Bailey on a roto team. Head-to-head, you're playing for the ramp. And then Reed Sheppard, who's really been on here for 3 weeks, but his sort of breakout-ish game came on like a Friday night after I did this show, so I didn't get to get him on this list until the following week, but he should definitely be on rosters even after a slower ball game yesterday. The 2 new names this week are sort of dumb ones, so we're not going to blow a bunch of time on it because I think these are guys that probably should have been on rosters anyway, but it's Cam Johnson and Keegan Murray. And the reason I have to put Cam Johnson on there is because on last week's show, I was like, yeah, it's probably time to drop because he had been horrible and then got hurt on Thursday. And so I rolled right into a Friday show that was like, well, Cam Johnson is out and he's been bad. I don't know how you hang on anymore. But over the last week, with no Christian Brown, Cam has started to find his footing. He's number 80 in 9 category leagues. He's still shooting way over his head at 60% during that stretch, but he's up to 10 shots a game over those 2 ball games. He's played 35 minutes over those 2 ball games. He's not getting steals yet, which I'm hoping will come around, and that'll maybe counterbalance the field goal percent that's extraordinarily high. But the rest of his stuff is not all that far off from kind of what we were looking for when the season started. So if you panic dropped, which I did, I'll admit I did it in a league. I held on for freaking almost 4 full weeks of bad. Get him back. And if you panic held, congratulations. He's been a lot better this week. And then Keegan Murray, this one actually does require a little bit more explanation because, and I didn't think it would, but a lot of people were like, Dan, this team, like there's too many guys on this team already. And you're not wrong. There are too many guys on this team. There are a bunch of inefficient clunkos who need the ball in their hand. And then there's a bunch of efficient clunkos who jack up shots but can't move the basketball. And there's just no fit where they all come together unless Domantas Sabonis is that guy and he's out for a month. The only ball mover that's also efficient was Domantas Sabonis. You had DeRozan, who's an efficient scorer, but a bit of a black hole when it comes to getting the basketball. You've got Zach LaVine, also an efficient scorer, also not a good passer. And then you've got Russ, who's just a train wreck from an efficiency standpoint, but can pass a little bit. Dennis Schroeder, also train wreck from an efficiency standpoint, but can pass a little bit. Malik Monk, chucker, used to pass, doesn't anymore. Precious Achiuwa, getting a lot of questions about Precious Achiuwa. With Domantas Sabonis out, Achiuwa's just not good. Drew Eubanks is more interesting, at least for the defensive stats. But this is why, when you look at this team, you're like, oh, that's why Keegan Murray's going to play. Because, number one, he and Zach LaVine are the only guys on this team that are actually decent three-point shooters. Maybe Malik Monk. You could give like an honorable mention to Malik Monk. But of the like main guys, and I don't want you guys yelling at me that they've got some dude way down at the bottom, like Dougie McBuckets is on the, yeah, sure, he can shoot a three ball, but he moves like a Galapagos tortoise. I'm talking about the guys that are actually have a chance to play minutes on this team. So Keegan's going to play. If that was question number one. And we got that answered because in his season debut, he came off the bench and played 33 minutes. That's how badly the Kings want Keegan on the floor. Thing number two, they just paid him a crap ton of money. He's part of their building block, whatever the hell that might. I don't know who the rest of them are. It seems like the rest of these guys are all up for grabs at this point. But Keegan Murray's probably the one guy where they're like, yeah, we still want to build around you because he's an excellent defender and he's a good floor spacer, and they haven't even really given him a chance to come into his own offensively at all. He got 13 shots up. I don't know that that's going to happen every ball game, but I also don't know that we need him to take 13 shots every ball game because you can look at last year. Keegan Murray took 10.8 shots per game last season, and he was number 86 because he's actually a pretty good rebounder, and Sabonis is out for a while. So rebounds up for grabs as long as Russ isn't taking all of them. He's not a passer. That's not what you're getting him for. But, 45% from the field, good free throw number, good three-pointers. Keegan was 2 threes a game and almost a steal and a block per. He can get back to those numbers pretty easily. And actually, if you look down the stretch last year, over the final 2 months even, when he started to hit his shots a little bit more, and his field goal percent went from 44 to 46, that was all it took, by the way. He was number 56 in 9 category leagues. Yes, on the shoulders of very low turnovers. I know that that's a part of it. I'm aware. But that's fine. Like, this is a 3-and-D guy you got late. Down the stretch last year, final 15 games, he was at 2.5 threes and 2 combined defensive stats on 46-86 splits. 13, 6 points. I mean, this is like the prototypical 3-and-D guy. So if you have guys, before we get to all the rest of the stuff on this show, and there's still a lot more to cover, I wanted to remind you that this program is brought to you by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. They have been an amazing presenting sponsor for us. I'm very excited to continue our work with them. I'm looking, by the way, my pals over at StreamYard got rid of the little notes button. There was a notes button that I was using to write down when I was doing advertisements for places. I have to pull up a notepad now. So that's a little after 13 minutes. Thanks, guys. Good job. And everybody's like, Dan, you did timestamps. You know how hard it is to do timestamps by yourself when you're trying to do 2 shows a day and have multiple children and be the last line of defense? It's freaking impossible. But that is why I have a nanny a few days a week. And that is why I started YouTube memberships and Patreon memberships. But for those of you that are watching the show, it's easier to just click the member button. It's 99 cents. I really don't think you're going to miss 99 cents when you think about all the things you waste 99 cents on. And if a lot of you guys do it, which a lot of you have already, but we've got a little ways to go yet, then I can just do all this stuff for free forever. And that's what I think people want in fantasy basketball. I think you guys want like lots of, well, I don't want to say just like quantity of work, but I think you guys want all the information at your fingertips. I don't think you want a fantasy universe where you have to have 100, 150, even like $60 a year to get access to winning fantasy information. I think most of you out there want to be able to get it for free. It allows you to put more money on the league that you're in, for one, because you don't have to budget for paying for the other stuff. And that's why I said, look, 99 cents. That's the only number that I'm willing to go to here. because it's $12 for you guys a year, which should be basically nothing. But when you think about it from a monthly standpoint, like you lose that in your couch. So consider it. If you don't have it, that's totally fine. But I know hundreds, thousands of you guys, we've won together over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years of doing these shows and Twitter and all that stuff together. So if you got 99 cents, please consider it. I'm hoping, depending on how bad this cold gets, to record a subscriber pod this weekend with my son. I think it's going to be really funny. I think you're really going to enjoy it. You guys get that. And then YouTubers, if you guys sign up for a YouTube membership for 99 cents and you post comments on these videos, questions, whatever, I will see them and I will answer them. So it's almost, you get a little bit of a pipeline. So thanks in advance. Let's keep going. The updates on the prior ads. Last week, we had Brandon Williams as an ad. I'm putting him, and I don't even have this category on the show, but he's a hole dropper. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He and D'Angelo Russell are bouncing back and forth on who actually gets to play for this team, and it's annoying. And frankly, it's too annoying for me to have to deal with. He's number 186 in 9-cat over the last week. Yes, a lot of that's because he shot 31%. His other stuff is not that bad, but also it's not that good. Other than 5 free throws at 90%, the rest of his stuff is just sort of meh. He and D'Lo are both playing half the ball game over the last week. At some point, Anthony Davis might resurface, but I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So screw it. He's very much a doesn't matter, which effectively means you can drop him. The rest of season names that we've collected on these weekly Friday shows so far are Aaron Gordon, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Kyshawn George, Jabari Smith Jr. Those guys were all week one. Basically, the week one names were the guys that were drafted in the last round or picked up on the first day of the season. And week two, Quentin Grimes, PJ Washington, Cedric Coward, and Points League Russell Westbrook. So just a quick update there. I don't have anything I want to add to those names. If I felt like they needed to be moved off of the rest of season board, I would do so, and I would tell you about it. Here's the injury replacement board, which, believe it or not, is actually shorter than last week. It still looks painfully long, but Zion came back, and Bam came back, and Brunson came back, and LeBron came back, and I know I'm forgetting one other big-name player that came back, and I think the only guy we lost this week was Giannis. No, that's not true. Memphis dropped a couple of dudes, but largely this is a week where we got healthier. That's the end of the sentence. This is a week where we got healthier. I still have Grayson Allen as a 3 hamburger. It's carrots on weekly shows. On Friday, we change it from hamburgers to carrots because we like to get healthy on Friday morning. Grayson Allen's a 3-carrot guy. As soon as he comes back, he'll drop right into being a dominant force again. Although I'll tell you guys, I think he's a rest of season play. I think he ends up being like one of the really, really good last round draft picks, and we sort of bungled our way into him thinking he was going to be a burger board dude. And I was like, use your last pick on a burger board guy. Derp-a-derp-a-derp. And that was really smart. And then it might even pan out better than that. So kudos to us. Kelly Oubre, 2-carrot guy when he comes back. I still think that he has value even with Paul George around. I do think that if Joel Embiid ever returns, that one's probably dead. Dylan Brooks is a 2-carrot guy. He's been strikingly good from a fantasy standpoint this year. And look, I came into this season, I was like, nobody wants Dylan Brooks. And then he had one good ball game, and this was a moment of personal growth for me, actually, because normally I'd be like, this is stupid Dylan Brooks. I don't want anything to do with that. But he took like 22 shots, and I was like, oh, Dylan Brooks is going to shoot this year. He's averaging 21 points, 2 steals, and 2.5 threes a ball game. It almost doesn't matter what else he does. That's basically enough. But the good news is he's actually been a medium volume, strong foul shooter on top of all of that other stuff. And he's number 39 in 9-category leagues. So he's almost a 3-carrot guy. Technically, he should be a 3-carrot guy. But I'm taking it easy because he's still Dylan freaking Brooks. Con Kneppel's a 2-carrot guy. I do think a return from Brandon Miller will knock him down at least 1 peg, maybe 2. Santi Aldama is a new name on the ads board with Ja and, more importantly, Jaren Jackson Jr. out. Santi is getting all he can handle. And he's been a guy that I've listed as an I don't care. But that's the thing. Like, we have to be willing to adjust on the fly. He was wildly over-rostered prior to last night's ball game where he went for 29, 5, and 3. He had a lot of, 15, 6-2 kind of games. And you're like, oh, that seems kind of interesting. But then you look at the bad percentages and the not that many defensive stats. And then all of a sudden, JJJ goes down. He's the starting power forward. And there's no other usage guys still out of the infirmary. And he took 18 shots. And that is a huge difference-making jump for him. That's a 50% usage bounce. So Santi jumps from who gives a crap to 2 carats. Just 1 carat, only mildly healthy. The next very long list of names. We got a ton of guys that I think are kind of in that 70 to 100 range. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who had a huge ball game yesterday, but overall he's kind of settled into that. He's number 67. The big ball game pushed him back just above 1 carat, but he's a 1 carat guy. That's where he'll settle with Trae Young out. Isaiah Stewart until Tobias Harris comes back, which could be today. Wait, did Detroit play today? Double checking Detroit. Nope, they play tomorrow. So it could be as soon as tomorrow. Tobias was a game time call on Tuesday, and they've had 3 days off, so that was like we could just hang in there for one more. So this might be the end of the line for Isaiah Stewart. Keep an eye on that one. Royce O'Neal, he's a play with Grayson Allen and Jalen Green out. When one of those guys comes back, I don't know that he's going to be able to hang on, but he still might. AJ Mitchell, definitely a play. Aaron Wiggins is still out. Cason Wallace sounded like he got a little bit banged up, but I think he's okay. But AJ still should be fine until Wiggins comes back, and then they'll go back to kind of splitting things. Davion Mitchell, you can keep playing until Tyler Hero comes back. Yusuf Nurkic has a claim at being a 2 carat guy. That's the only thing worth bringing up. His percentages scare me. And if he's not getting almost 3 steals a game, that also scares me a little bit. So I don't think that he's been a top 60 guy over the last 2 games. But since Walker Kessler went down, he's outside the top 100 because of percentages. And I think that levels off somewhere like maybe around 90. But it's going to fluctuate pretty hard. DeAndre Hunter is on this board, but he might evaporate. Sounds like Darius Garland is very close. They're hoping. The report that we read yesterday was that they were hoping he might be back today. Cavaliers host the Indiana Pacers. If Garland's back, Hunter probably gone. Andre Drummond, that's an easy one with Joel Embiid out. Jalen Tyson, if he ever resurfaces, could be kind of interesting if he drops into that last starting spot, but I think it might be wiser to wait and see on that one. Dennis Jenkins has been remarkable, first with Cade out, and now he's just sort of like played his way into a role. I don't think he'll last past a Jaden Ivey return, which isn't that far away. But he played well in the last one, so screw it, I guess. Keep going. Wendell Carter Jr. is a 1 carat guy with Paolo Banchero out. Jaime Jaquez Jr., I should have just lumped him in with Davion Mitchell. I do think he probably runs out of gas when Hero comes back. Colin Gillespie looks like a really nice play with Grayson Allen back out. He was not quite playable when only Jalen Green was on the shelf, but whenever 2 guys are out for the Suns, Gillespie's the guy that drops in. And this was an important one, too, because Grayson Allen was kind of the secondary ball handler behind Devin Booker. So him going down means the Suns needed the ball handling of Gillespie. And we did this a couple shows back where I said the term ball handler about 4 times in the span of 2 sentences. And I don't know. I can't help but giggle at myself. Devin Vassell with Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, the Spurs are all kinds of beat up, and they're still finding ways to win, to their credit. They have a bunch of guys that are, I think, more like volume play style, like a Keldon Johnson or a Julian Champagnie or a Harrison Barnes. I don't trust those guys for games cap, but I do trust Devin Vassell. We know that he's going to get enough usage every ball game. He'll handle a little bit more of the passing duty. Yeah, that's right. I said duty. And so he's the guy to me that moves just a little bit of a cut above. Bobby Portis just added to this board last night. We're waiting to see what the Bucks would look like with Giannis out, because Giannis missed 1 game earlier and Portis didn't really do anything. But in this one, he started at power forward. He jacked up 14 shots in 28 minutes. That's what we want out of Robert. Get those shots up. 19 points, 8 rebounds, a 3-ball, and a steal. He's a decent percentages guy, too, which is nice. So the extra usage is very much a good thing for Bobby. No, I'm not as into Kyle Kuzma. I think if you wanted to make him an injury replacement ad for Giannis, you do so in points leagues. because he will both shoot you into and out of your weekly matchups. And finally, Vince Williams Jr., who has a very unique and interesting fantasy game. And we're seeing a little bit of it with Ja out, where he's been ramrodded here into the point guard job. And he has 24 assists in his last 2 ball games. Couldn't hit a shot to save his life. He has 14 rebounds over that stretch as well. So the turnovers are going to be high. The assists are going to be high. The rebounds seem like they're going to be decent. I don't think we're going to get much scoring. I don't think we're going to get that many defensive stats. I think the percentages are going to be kind of tough, which, I mean, it does beg the question of, does this actually get him inside the top 109 cat? And I don't know the answer to that. But he's also kind of one of those guys where if someone's going to get 9 assists a ball game, you just sort of deal with the other stuff until you know how it's going to look. It reminds me a little bit of the Isaiah Collier conundrum, although I think with Williams, you probably have a slightly easier path. So, yeah, pick him up. Let's call him a 1-carat guy and see what happens. And then I've got a handful of players here that I haven't totally made my mind up on. Aaron Wiggins, when he comes back, I don't know if there's going to be enough there. I put Vince Williams Jr. on here twice. Oopsies. Gotta fix that. Moved him from the tracking board to the one burger board, but I forgot to take him off of the tracking board. My bad, everybody. Can't fix that one. It's too late. In any event, the guys that I'm tracking are Trey Jones when he comes back, because now Kobe White is in. Tracking Drew Eubanks a little bit. Tracking Luke Cornett. I thought he'd be a 1-carat guy, but I pushed him back down here. The guys that I think are probably safely in this range. I know Peyton Watson just had a gigantic ball game, but to me, he profiles as a defensive stat streamer that probably sits just outside the top 100. While Christian Brown is out, Marvin Bagley, not a guy that I trust a ton. He's got some weird spots in his fantasy game, but that's with Alex Sarr out. And those are the other ones there that I think we have a pretty good idea that they're not quite worth a carat, but pretty close. Mid-show reminder, once again, to hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. All right, some holds. These are the tough holds. John Collins, Aaron Nesmith, Derik Lively II, and Toumani Camara. I can't believe I had to put Camara on here, but he has been shooting the ball very poorly. Camara is actually one of my favorite buy lows. If you watch that show that aired earlier this morning, scoop him up, man. He's shooting 39.5%. Everything for him. The steals, I'm hoping, go up from 1.1 to like 1.3 or 1.4. But otherwise, everything is exactly where we want it to be. 11 plus shots a game. He could be a top 60 guy if he was just shooting the ball well and getting his normal allotment of steals. So I like Camara a lot. John Collins, man, like, he's got all the opportunity in the world right now, and the Clippers are just so bad that it doesn't matter. They're so terrible, nobody can do anything on that team other than James Harden. Aaron Nesmith, try to hang on through this injury. I don't know how long it's going to be, so I get it. It might be too hard to do so. And then Derik Lively, we just don't need that much out of him. And you saw it in the last ball game. He played, 18 minutes, and he actually had a pretty damn good fantasy line. Over the last week, since coming back from injury, he's averaged 15.5 minutes a game, and he's already inside the top 150 in 9-cat. Because he's a great rebounder and he's a great defensive stats guy. I do think that he's on the way up, and Daniel Gafford is probably on the way down for the moment, and Gafford is on our time to worry board, so it was nice that I was able to sort of get these guys to work in conjunction. Time to worry are guys that I'm hanging on to a tiny bit longer for some reason. So CJ McCollum, I don't even know why I'm hanging on to him anymore. You guys have convinced me I need to hang on to him. I don't think we need to hang on to McCollum. Punt field goal, I guess you can. Isaiah Jackson, I'm going to give one more ball game. Yeah, as long as he's in that starting lineup, I'm still thinking about it. And he gets himself into foul trouble all the time. But all it's going to take is like 3 games in a row where he's not in foul trouble. And we're going to look back on this moment and go, yeah, that's why we did it. That's why we barely hung on, but we did. Daniel Gafford, you can hang on to a little bit longer. He's mostly on the time to worry board because as Derik Lively's minutes come up and pass his, then Gafford will go back to being more of a waiver wire guy. And then Trey Jones is on my time to worry board because I don't know what he's going to be when he comes back from this ankle tweak. Because now you've got Kobe White and Josh Giddey both healthy. And I don't know if that means Trey Jones is going to get enough playing time, but I also don't want to drop him before I know for sure because he's been so unbelievably good. What if he's been so good that the Bulls continue to give him playing time? I don't want to drop him before finding out if that's going to happen. And I would suggest you guys try to hang on there as well, just for a little bit. The cut board. We had to move a couple guys down here. They were updates from last week. Josh Minot and Jonathan Kuminga. Remember, they were on the ads board, and then we were like, we got to update these guys to cuts. Now they are officially on the cuts sheet. I don't know that there's a new... no. Obi Toppin, Kyle Filipowski, Chris Middleton, those guys were on the cuts board already as well. The new names on the cut board are Brandon Podziemski and Herb Jones. And these are tough ones because you can make a reasonable argument that Brandon Podziemski could end up with fantasy value this year, but it just doesn't seem like it's there. He's number 132. I think he's going to hover right in that stream zone probably all year. And frankly, he's been consistent in that area. You know, it hasn't been like a really hot week and a really cold week. It's kind of just like, Brandon Podziemski, he's putting up top 130 value every day. I don't think you need to hold on to that. And frankly, Herb Jones is kind of the same general story. He's number 204 on the season. And even if he was shooting the ball better, he still wouldn't be inside the top 100. A good shooting year for Herb right now would probably move him to like 125. And I don't think it's about to get better. Zion just came back. Jordan Poole's still out. DeJounte Murray's going to surface in 2 to 3 months. We don't have to really worry about that right now. But the guys that are getting more are Jeremiah Fears, Derik Queen. Herb's not. So I don't think there's the upside there to warrant squatting on him when all of these injury replacement guys will give you better stats right now. There's no upside there either. But if you're going to have a no upside guy, you should probably get the one that's doing better in the moment. I think that makes sense from a logic standpoint. The watch list doesn't have a ton of new names. Ryan Dunn and Tristan Da Silva are the guys that I added to it. I think, and there may be a little bit of a disagreement on this. Ryan Dunn over the last week is number 46, but he had a big 5-steal game that is artificially inflating that number. Without his 3.5 steals over the last week, he's not a top 50 guy because the rest of his numbers are 10, 3, and 4. And yes, he's starting with Grayson Allen on the pine, but I think he's more of a volume play. You're sort of hunting steals. And I feel the same way about Tristan Da Silva, who's also on my watch list board. Over the last week, he's at 17-7 from the field with 3.33 balls. To me, he has the better shot at it with no Paolo because there is that extra opportunity. And Da Silva, like his fantasy game translates okay. It's not world beater level, but he's like decent field goal percent, not atrocious at the free throw line. Not great there either, but he can rebound a little bit. He could score a little bit. He can hit some 3-pointers. I think that 3-ball number probably comes down from 3.5. And the rest of his stuff maybe holds around where it is right now. And that probably pushes him like a little bit outside the top 100. Honestly, if you wanted to put Tristan Da Silva on the 0-carat injury board, I would have no problem with that. He's almost interchangeable there. And then the other names on the watch list are the same as last week. TJ McConnell had a really good ball game, but he only played 14 minutes, so that's not going to get him there. Moses Moody had a good one and then a bad one, so that's not going to get him there. Like, there needs to be more consistency for me to trust these guys. Moody, for instance, had that giant scoring game, and yet over the last week, he still can't get himself inside the top 130. Agor Demon, now Noah Clowney. You guys know I'm not a big Noah Clowney guy. I don't think his fantasy game translates all that well. It's like he's basically threes and a couple of steals out of a power forward. It's weird. Jordan Walsh got himself into foul trouble in the last one, and then they did the thing where they never put the guy back in. His job right now is just to get steals and rebounds, and so if he's not getting those, then his fantasy value is going to tank hard. So more of a watch list guy. Isaiah Collier, you guys could yell at me about this one. I honestly just couldn't figure out where to categorize him because over the last week, he's at 12 points, 7.5 assists with a steal on 58% shooting, but he's number 188 in 9 category leagues. Now, what if you're punting turnovers? How far does he go there? I think my kid's iPad is getting a phone call while I'm live on a podcast. It was a phone call, and it was adorable. It was his cousin. I didn't answer it, but I will let him know that his cousin called. That's the cutest thing ever. Isaiah Collier, we were talking about. 8 cat, he's number 125 over the last week. But again, there's a fit thing here with Collier where he doesn't even bother to shoot 3-pointers. He's also shooting a really high percentage over this last stretch. I just don't think he fits in most 9 category teams, but 8 cat, he probably does because assists are hard to find. Again, you kind of take the good with the bad. You try to get your 3-pointers somewhere else. You try to, his free throw number is weird lately. That's also sort of an anomalous thing. He's taken 14 free throws over his last 2 games combined. But again, like 9 cat, those turnovers are going to kill you. We're so willing as fantasy players to overlook turnovers if you have high assists. It doesn't matter what else is going on. 3.5 turnovers is very problematic. Even with 7.5 assists, if the rest of your fantasy game is not very good. Now, if you have 7.5 assists to 3.5 turnovers, but you're also at like 16 points, 2 3-pointers, a good free throw number, whatever, like then that starts to add up. But when all you're doing, literally the only thing Isaiah Collier is a positive at long-term is assists, it's not enough. So that's why I think it's more of a fit thing. And you can put them in whatever damn category you want. You know, I have to try to slot them into things here because it makes it social media and podcast friendly. But you guys get it. There's more nuance to it than that. And then Mitchell Robinson, who's been actually pretty good lately, but I don't think that I can call him a straight ad unless his minutes go up a lot from 18. 10 rebounds. And it's the same kind of thing. Like he's too bad at the free throw line and he's too bad at scoring for me to care that he can get you a block and 10 rebounds. It's not enough. It's specialist appeal, and we're not at that part of the season. And then you get to the promo part of my tweet thread, which said the podcast was coming in an hour. You can see I did this half an hour ago. So, yeah, basically right on the mark. Hoping everybody subscribes, everybody that read the thread, everybody that's watching or listening, subscribe. And now, go find me on Twitter at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris, and go like some posts and follow because then you can get all of this stuff in super legible, quick hitter fashion. And that is how we continue to grow the Old Man Squad. And that is how my voice barely. Oh, my throat is killing me right now, but we got through it. Got through the show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Again, I'm at Dan Besbris. Oh, my God. The phone. My kid's iPad's ringing again. I'm Dan Besbris. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Like, rate, subscribe on your way out. Consider the 99 cents if you have it. And if you don't, just keep enjoying. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.